Hello my wonderful guitar enthusiasts. Today, one of the guitar YouTubers I regularly watch, Phillip McKnight, posted an unusual video. Phillip sold one of his PRS SE guitars, which he received, if I understand correctly, as part of the compensation for a video. Apparently the guitar was listed on Reverb with no issues, including no fret issues. Before moving forward, I want to say that I do enjoy Phillip's videos and I recommend going to his original video, see it and make your own conclusions. 4 days after the buyer received the guitar, he sent a message about a problem with the 3rd fret. He noticed that some notes were choking. I need to make a remark here. For some people, choking may just mean reduced sustain. When I hear choking, I assume it means severe fret buzz, but it's hard to quantify without follow-up questions. Here is something I want you to pay attention to. The buyer explicitly says he wants to keep the guitar, but he is also sticking to Reverb's policy that the guitar did not arrive as described. I guess he is asking for something in return for inaccuracy in the listing. I'm not sure what the resolution would be. Maybe a partial refund, maybe something else. I am not a Reverb expert, but it's clear the buyer feels misled and wants some form of compensation. Phillip McKnight actually decides to accept the return and offers a full refund. He tells the buyer there is no problem and that he'll cover the shipping in full. That's a fairly generous offer with no questions asked. Considering this situation, I think he found the best solution for both parties. The buyer will be happy that return shipping is covered, and Phillip can learn something from his experience, as he says in the video. Here I need to say something about my experience on Reverb. Usually, when I talk to sellers and mention returning an item, the seller asks a lot of clarifying questions and tries to understand the issue. Maybe I am doing something wrong, or maybe I just need guidance. In this case, nothing like that happens. Phillip goes straight to offering a return. I think he saw an opportunity to make a video from the situation and was less interested in actually resolving the buyer's issue. And remember, the buyer didn't want to return the guitar in the first place. Let's talk about the money. It seems like Phillip doesn't lose anything. He got the guitar for free. He mentions $80 shipping cost. It seems like it is an investment in a video that's not just pure marketing. YouTubers like Phillip need to mix marketing content with other types of videos to keep the audience engaged. As a beginner YouTuber, I have to say that $80 is a small expense. I'm sure he'll be able to sell the guitar again for the same price he did it the first time. This video feels like a bit of a reality show. Phillip opens the guitar right on camera, not knowing what the problem is, which makes the video more intriguing. It was actually funny to see that the buyer didn't care about the swag Phillip included, stickers and all other branding items. He even says, "This is boring," which I found pretty amusing.
This tag. So he's returned it with all the items. I don't know if I should be showing you this because it's kind of boring.
Phillip notices the strings were changed and that they are thinner than the ones that originally were on this guitar. He also notices the neck has no relief. Okay, but I think that's irrelevant to the high fret issue. The buyer just prefers different strings and sets the guitar up his way. Also, the neck is mahogany, and mahogany is sensitive to humidity. I don't know why Phillip's facial expression is so unhappy here. He even gets very close to insulting the buyer.
Good, bad news? I don't know how the hell to say this. What the do you say? Bad news is he wasn't very truthful and forthcoming with what happens.
Phillip mentions the nut needs to be replaced because the strings are too thin. Maybe, but that's up to the buyer, and again unrelated to the 3rd fret issue. My question is, why isn't Phillip using a fret rocker at this point? That's the standard tool to detect high frets. Then he starts checking the action. I don't know why. The buyer claimed there is an issue with one specific fret. Action doesn't cause problems on a single fret. It affects broader areas. He mentions the action was set to 2 mm and the buyer lowered it to 1.5. I'd consider 2 mm high, though opinions may vary. It's possible the high action masked a fret issue. But either way, checking the action doesn't prove anything. He really should have used a fret rocker. Now, somehow, based on measuring the action, Phillip concludes that he did not misrepresent the guitar in the original Reverb post.
Good news is I didn't describe the guitar wrong.
That's just not true. Action doesn't prove anything. Again, fret rocker does. Phillip also says the buyer wants him to pay for a string change.
What happened? So obviously he restringed the guitar with eighths and then decided that we should pay him for that.
That's unfair. The buyer wanted a guitar with no issues, as described. He likely didn't want to go through the hassle of return and shipping. He explicitly said he didn't want to return the guitar. The buyer never demanded reimbursement of strings. That's misleading. Phillip got the guitar for free with strings, as part of sponsorship. The string cost is what? $5? That bumps the video budget from $80 to $85. So sad. And again, it was Phillip who offered the return without asking any questions. If you watch the video, you'll see how different Phillip's message to the buyer is compared to how he talks about the situation on camera. Very polite in messages, almost insulting in the video. And remember, the message was sent after the video was recorded. I get that first impression can be emotional, but Phillip could have re-recorded that part. He didn't. And if you watch the rest of the video, his tone doesn't really change. The buyer replies. He says 8.5s are his favorite strings, and that's why he replaced them. He also mentions that sitar effect was on D and A string at the 3rd fret. Now, sitar effect and choking are overloaded terms. Phillip has his own way of describing guitar issues, which doesn't always align with others. The buyer might think sitar effect and choking are the same thing. Honestly, that's fair. They can sound similar. Here is the twist. The buyer says he repaired the 3rd fret. And this is when Phillip McKnight takes the fret rocker. Ta-da!
Let's take a look at that. All right, let's get the fret rocker.
Think about it. If PRS sponsors your channel, you're not going to show them under a microscope. But when a random tech does a fret job, suddenly it gets scrutinized. Hilarious, isn't it? Some might say it's wrong to return a guitar after a modification. However, the buyer says he's a qualified tech, and Phillip confirms that after checking with the fret rocker. So the buyer is qualified, and he apparently fixed the issue. Fascinating.
Okay, so good news is no high frets.
Phillip also says the frets weren't polished properly. Really. He only noticed that after hearing about the fret job. And honestly, PRSSC fretwork is never perfectly polished, in my experience at least. So I don't buy this critique. I also believe that if someone can do a proper fret job, they can identify a high fret. That makes me think there really was an issue. Otherwise, none of this makes sense.
So he did address that fret. We don't know now if it was higher than the rest. My guess is not.
My guess it was.
I don't know. The point is, though, is that I'm not detecting issues now.
Maybe Phillip missed it in his original review. Maybe he noticed it, but chose to ignore it, thinking it wasn't significant. After all, This was a sponsored video. It is not beneficial to showcase flaws, especially if those flaws exist on most guitars in the production line. There was also another alteration. The buyer installed a treble bleed mod. Maybe he should have mentioned it before returning the guitar. But is he obligated to? I'm not sure. Let me know in the comments. Either way, Philip wanted the guitar back to make content. So why complain? Philip messages to the buyer and kinda hints him that he is going to initiate a dispute on Reverb. The buyer messages back, trying to be polite in his own way. He emphasizes that he wanted to keep the guitar and even repaired it for free. Then Philip actually insults him, saying the buyer messed up the guitar, when in reality he really fixed it. The alteration wasn't even reversible. I don't see a problem there.
I hold no blame on you guys, and I would gladly do business with you again and recommend you to others. Of course you would. You messed up the guitar and then you got a full refund and it's an amazing service.
Now, imagine being that buyer. Suddenly, there is a video online with hundreds of thousands views and thousands of angry comments about how terrible you are. Even if your name isn't mentioned, that would feel awful. Philip is using his huge audience to insult someone, probably a regular viewer. Remember, I said earlier that I am a beginner YouTuber. It's 12 minutes after beginning of the video, and I am getting to the point why I'm actually recording this video. I am recording this video because Philip said something about PRS SE guitars.
Perfect. You know, it's funny, at this point, I don't think we've ever had a PRS with bad fretwork when it comes to high fret.
PRS with bad fretwork.
From my experience, fretwork on PRS SE guitars is not great. It's fine for high action, but they don't do proper fret leveling. Likely none at all. I think they rely on the fret installation process. Apparently it's good enough for them, and they don't do fret leveling to reduce the costs. By the way, this screenshot is from a short video on my channel where I fixed the fretwork on a PRS SE guitar. Check out YouTube shorts on my channel if you are interested. Today I went to my local shop and tried the 3 most expensive PRS SEs. You can see on the first guitar on this screenshot there is a slight relief if you detect a high fret with a fret rocker. While there is a relief, chances are when you straighten the neck, the issue will be even more noticeable. What a coincidence. This is exactly the 3rd fret, and the guitar on my short video has the high 3rd fret too. Out of 3 guitars, this one had the least fret issues. It had only 1 high fret, but that was really minor. All these guitars had action and intonation issues. Overall, nothing catastrophic, but they needed work from a tech. Buyers should know that. To be fair, this isn't only a PRS SE problem. I've seen similar issues on music bands Stingray, LTD, Ibanez, Solar 2 and Below, and others. Maybe it's a post-COVID production rush issue. With the move to online sales, brands seem to care more about looks than playability. As the buyer said in his messages, not many players can identify issues correctly, and manufacturers might take advantage of that. Also, sponsored YouTubers make these guitars seem flawless. Conclusion: be careful with all the marketing online. Try to verify things yourself. Visit local guitar stores, watch smaller guitar tech channels, watch my channel. So far I mostly post shorts, but I'll upload more long-form content soon. Be informed, enjoy the journey and stay curious. Have you ever had to return a guitar on Reverb? Do you think the buyer was wrong? If you agree or disagree, drop a comment. I read them all. I also make mistakes, and if I have said anything inaccurate, I would love to hear your thoughts. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you for watching.